Mr. Chen said outside the door. At that moment, Grandma, who had just brewed the tea, walked over. "Xiangxi, why did you close the door? Hurry up and invite Mr. Chen in for tea." "Grandma, Mr. Chen has a problem." "Xiangxi, what are you talking about?" "Grandma is about to open the door for Mr. Chen." I grabbed him tightly. "Grandma, Mr. Chen has no shadow." Grandma stopped in her tracks. "Mr. Chen outside is still knocking on the door." There were 3 knocks at the door. "It's not around." "Mr. Chen is a person. But why does he have no shadow?" Thinking about what the master is going to tell me, I suddenly started to have doubts about Mr. Chen. He tried to kill that eagle's spirit several times, but couldn't. Are you acting? So why did he do that? Could it be to say goodbye? Ding-ling-a-ling, ding-ling-ling, ding-ling-a-ling. At this moment, the sound of bells rang out. "The master is coming." "Why, Kun?" "It's you. You actually didn't die. You are not dead yet." "How could I possibly die?" The cold voice of the teacher came through. "Do this." Mr. Chen wants to continue speaking, but the sound of the bell suddenly became urgent. Suddenly Mr. Chen let out a terrible scream. "Gan Shaijian, do we have to kill Mr. Chen?" I quickly pushed open the door. The master was pointing at Mr. Chen, ready to scold him. "You actually raised a little ghost that harmed my dear friend's family. Chen Jiu, I won't let you go. Today, even if it goes against the rules. I want you to pay with blood for your debts." Ding-ling-a-ling, the sound of the bell ringing. Ding-ling-a-ling, the urgent sound of bells. Feeling restless and troubled, Mr. Chen has started rolling on the ground, crying out in despair, holding their head. "Press, NSI. Just." Mr. Chen used his last strength. "Call for help to me. Senior, please let Mr. Chen go. Is there a misunderstanding here? I can't do it." The master will continue to shake the bronze bell. Mr. Chen is immortal. He won't give up. I rushed over. We must stop the master from coming. After all, there is no direct evidence to prove. Mr. Chen is the mastermind behind the eagle training. I can't watch him die. But just as I was about to rush in front of the master, he suddenly stopped shaking the copper bell. Mr. Chen on the ground in the distance. There is no more sound. Is it already dead? Little friend, you are still young after all, unaware of the treachery in people's hearts. This Chen Jiu has harmed your grandfather. You should go take a look. Does he still have any secrets? This person is skilled at hiding. You need to be careful. Xiangxi's forehead also began to bead with sweat, and was still gasping for breath. It seems the copper bell just rang. It also takes a toll on him. I walked towards Mr. Chen, but just as I was about to lean down, when checking Mr. Chen's condition, Mr. Chen suddenly opened his eyes. "Chen," I was just about to speak. Mr. Chen suddenly stood up abruptly. "Don't trust him." Mr. Chen stood up and said, "Only I can hear what is said." Then I rushed out of my yard. By the time we reacted, we chased after them. Mr. Chen has already run far away. Xiangxi will come out soon as well. Don't chase any more. This person is hiding so deeply. Not simple at all. If Mr. Chen is truly the mastermind behind raising the little ghost, he indeed hid it very well. But is the current master truly worthy of trust? Little friend, Mr. Chen has now been injured by my spirit control. He won't appear in a short time. I can also go confidently to find Lai Chongliu's body. You can rest assured. I will bring your grandfather back in just a few hours." He finished speaking and left the village again. First meeting. For my safety. Just use my life talisman to protect my soul spirit. It's because he was a close friend of my grandfather. Perhaps I'm just being too suspicious. And Yazid, hurry inside. Grandma called me into the room. I lay on the worn-out sofa, lost in thought. And just in a daze, I saw a shadowy figure. That is my grandfather after I painted him. Grandpa. I shouted at him. I hoped to be able to wake him up. With my shout, Grandpa suddenly spoke up. He transmitted a hoarse, heavy voice. No, ne, Zan, let her, ne. Grandpa spoke with great pain. It seemed like every word was extremely difficult for him to say. Grandfather, do not trust anyone. You told me not to trust anyone. No, ne, to see, let her. This time, Grandpa didn't finish speaking, because his figure has begun to fade, and I suddenly woke up from the dream. I actually fell asleep. At this time, the sky was already starting to brighten. Grandpa visited me in a dream. Who should I really not trust? At this moment, footsteps were heard coming from outside the door. The sound gradually became clearer and louder. Someone has arrived. I looked out through the crack of the door. The one who arrived was the corpse handler. He was carrying someone on his back. That is my grandfather. I never expected he actually found my grandfather's body. I opened the door for him. At this moment, Grandma also woke up. I told him that the corpse handler had returned and brought back my grandfather. Senior, please come in. I invited him in. No matter what his purpose is in helping me drive, but he ultimately found my grandfather back. This love is deep. The corpse master took my grandfather's body, placed in the corner of the room, on Grandpa's body. Many talismans were also pasted up. The corpse handler did not rush to sit down after entering the room, but wrapped my grandfather's body with black cloth, until grandfather was like a sturdy log. He finally sat down on the worn-out sofa. I took the tea that Grandma handed me. The problem is quite tricky. John Lu, the resentment within him is too heavy. I can only temporarily seal him with a prisoner. Mr. Wen, what should we do? Grandma became a bit flustered. If Grandpa could still draw Sha, clearly cannot be buried. Big sister, if you are willing, just burn it. Of course, if the Chang Tower were burned down, the vengeful spirit within him would also vanish into thin air. You need to think it over carefully. The corpse transporter also seemed very helpless. Burned my grandfather. It seems to have a certain impact on him as well. Cannot burn. My grandmother was determined that, as long as I am alive, I won't allow anyone to burn Lao San. Grandma fiercely protects Grandpa's body. This surprised me a bit. After all, Grandpa has already painted the finishing touches. If we don't burn his body, Grandpa just needs to escape. It can also harm people. I also don't want to burn down the Chong Tower, since the young lady is so determined to keep his whole body intact. I will do my utmost to help his restless soul find rebirth. The words of the corpse handler. Grandma immediately knelt down on the ground to thank. Thank you, Mr. Y. Thank you, Mr. Y. Sister, please get up. John Lu saved my life back then. These are all things I should do. I asked the corpse herder how to dispel the negative energy from grandfather's corpse. The path of the corpse driver. This is very troublesome. Need to let Chong Lu see clearly after death and draw his vengeful spirit out of his body. Then walk in the shadows. I voiced my doubts. But Grandpa's body is possessed by a vengeful spirit. It is not a complete soul. Incomplete soul. How can he walk in the shadows again? That's why I said it's a hassle. Of course, I am a member of the corpse guiding lineage. skilled in soul control and summoning. So don't worry, little one, though it's a bit of a hassle. But the possibility of success is still very high. The words of the corpse chaser reassured Grandma quite a bit. Quickly prepared breakfast for him again. During this time, my grandmother mentioned Mr. Chen. Grandma also refused to believe. Mr. Chen is the one who raises spirits behind the scenes. Big sister, you may know someone's face, but not their heart. Xuanmen Jianghu. Since ancient times, it has been a battle of wits and schemes. This is Chen Jiu. The ex-husband has been in Lai family village for 18 years. It is the item that allowed Chan Lu to dominate the Xuan men back in the day. My grandmother asked again, "What is it?" "Jan Zai Sai Jian," the words of the corpse herder. I put down my chopsticks. Mr. Chen once said, "The porcelain sword was taken from my grandfather's hands by Luo Zuzi." The description in the track Gate Regulations. The porcelain sword is the symbol of the leer of the railways. Since my grandfather once wielded a porcelain sword, doesn't that mean? Grandpa was once a disciple of the rail, and is the master of the track. Senior, is my grandfather really a corpse transporter? My words made the corpse handler stop his chopsticks. After a moment of thought, they spoke. Is it or is it not? What does it mean? Track one door. It is originally to reduce the shortcomings and enhance the strengths. The five supremes of the orbital evolution emerged, though still not on the table. But the strength can definitely crush the Xuanmen. And your grandfather. Back then, he was the one who accompanied me in the corpse transportation, though he is not a true Xiangxi corpse handler. But his ability to control corpses, never beneath me, of course. What truly allowed the railways to dominate the mystical sects for over 1,000 years? It must be that legendary sword. I may have lost, but I learned from Luo Zuzi. However, little attention was paid to the field of railways. I don't know this door at all. There is still such a glorious side. The words of the corpse handler. It leaves me restless. After finishing the meal, the sun has already risen. The corpse handler hasn't slept for 2 days and 2 nights. At this moment, my eyes are filled with bloodshot veins. But he was very spirited. Grandma arranged a room for him. But he couldn't stop worrying about my grandfather. I have to take my grandfather's body. Carried him to his room. Only then did he finally fall asleep, taking advantage of the daytime. I also took a break. The events that occurred during these nights. I've already gotten used to it. Sleeping during the day. Facing danger at night. When I woke up, the sun has already set. Looking out the window, it startled me. There is a finger pointing at the window. He hung upside down at the window, staring into the room. They are watching me, as I looked towards the direction they pointed. He also fell from the window. I quickly ran to the windowsill. After the finger touches the ground, ran towards the distance. I hesitated for a moment. Decide to follow after all. Look at where that behind-the-scenes person is. I followed all the way to the outskirts of the village. The guide walked along the narrow path, going south continuously, until a village appeared ahead. I just realized this. I have already fallen too far behind. The village ahead is Nanping village. And at this moment the sky gradually darkened. Watching the still unhurried figure walk, I have started to hesitate. I have already left the village far behind. If it was Lai Gang who brought me out, I dare not think further. But just at that moment, a figure appeared ahead, caught my attention. I was startled when I saw the figure. So it turns out to be Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen also looked at me. And Yazid, how did you come here? He cautiously looked around. until it was confirmed that no one was there. Only then did I let out a sigh of relief. I pointed at him and stepped back. So you are the one. The person behind the scenes is the one who controls. Mr. Chen, you hide quite deeply. And Yazid, don't listen to Waikun's nonsense. You need to stay away from him. This person is very dangerous. I pointed at the person in the distance. I just followed him to find you. How else can you explain? Mr. Chen looked in the direction I was pointing. First, there was a shock. Then the expression on their face changed quickly. I saw worry and gloom. He suddenly turned around. Lai Ping'an, you actually don't believe me. He walked towards me step by step. I began to retreat. Lai Ping'an, if you tell me today, where is the word? I will let you go. If not, then. The fierceness in his gaze was evident. Quickly approaching me, I don't have any words. Don't dream any more. Mr. Chen's speed is very fast. Rushed over. Tackled me to the ground. I resist. But where is the strength compared to Mr. Chen? Mr. Chen hit me right in the face. I gritted my teeth in pain, but remained silent. Anya sighed. Hurry and call. Shout loudly. Mr. Chen held me down with strength. Suddenly relaxed a little. It gave me the strength to resist him. But his words, I found it utterly baffling. Wait for me to restore my true form to save you. Don't expose the trial set up just yet. If he lets you go to Xiangxi, you're just stalling for time. His purpose is not just the words. And your grandfather's body, even my corpse. Mr. Chen whispered softly, then shouted at me loudly again. Lai Ping'an, I haven't treated you poorly in these 18 years. You would rather hand over the document to someone else than give it to me. Hurry up and speak. Did you give the document to Waikun? Why do you care about who I give it to? Today, even if you kill me, I also want to get the item. I'm not reconciled. 18 years. 18 full years. I ended up waiting in vain. All right, since it's something I can't obtain, then others can forget about getting it too. Today I will kill you. Mr. Chen pulled a dagger from his waist. Rate it high. Just stab towards me. Help. I let out a piercing scream. Suddenly a cold wind blew by. A sudden sound of bells came through. Mr. Chen suddenly stopped moving, glancing aside. A dark figure rushed over. Mr. Chen was knocked down. I managed to escape. Quickly distance yourself from them. And the one who tackled Mr. Chen was, it's not a living person, but rather the butcher who died back then, controlling the corpse. I am completely shocked. Meanwhile, a figure also appeared not far behind me. It is the corpse driver, Wai Kun. Mr. Chen has begun to retreat. The corpse chaser approached him. Mr. Chen suddenly drew out the peach wood sword. If you dare to come over here, even if I die, I will also severely injure you. You have already suffered a heavy blow in Win Village. If I die, I will strike you again. Do you think you can still compete with Lai Gang? Mr. Chen's words let the corpse transporter stop. I could only watch him leave helplessly. Mr. Chen's figure vanished into the night. The corpse handler suddenly turned to another direction. Come out. Your hiding is not good. I looked in the direction the corpse handler was facing. A figure emerged from the bushes. It's no one else. It is Lai Gang. Lai Gang is staring at me from a distance, but did not dare to get close. You go back and tell Chanjiu. As long as I, Wai Kun, am still here, you will never get into Lai family village. Wai Kainbei, after all, you are a Miao person from Xiangxi. Have you forgotten the agreement made between the celestial master and the ancient king back then? Lai Gang's words. The face of the corpse driver visibly changed. I am amazed in my heart. Who is the celestial master? He and that ancient king have established some kind of rules. What could frighten the corpse transporter so much? Lai Changliyuo is my close friend. I hope you won't take advantage of the situation. Otherwise, it's like death. I won't let you have it easy either. The corpse handler left this harsh remark, then pulled me away. He walked hurriedly. It seems like you're worried about something. Along the way, the corpse transporter asked me, when you came out, why didn't you let me know? I was careless. I saw someone pointing while peeking through the window. I just wanted to follow and see who was behind it all. But I didn't expect that the person pointing was intentionally luring me out. I'm glad you're okay. You need to be more careful in the future. No matter where you go, please let me know in advance. I couldn't help but ask him again. Senior, what kind of rules are there? Makes you so wary. What did the master and the ancient king say that day? Xiangxi, it was that celestial master from the Xuanmen back in the day, and the ancient king is the strongest of my Wu sect. Over 40 years ago, the celestial master fought against the ancient king. No one knows who won or lost that battle. But from that day on, the ancient king then made an announcement. He won't step out of Miao even a half step. And as agreed, the people of the Wumen clan emerged from Miao must act discreetly. It is even more impossible to cast spells. Likewise, after the practitioners of the Xuanmen entered Miaojing and Xiangxi, you cannot use mysterious techniques either. I am shocked. Grandpa told me that the celestial master can slay demons and eliminate evil, beneficial to the people of the world, those who can enjoy the incense offerings in the realm of the mystical. His status is comparable to that of an emperor in the court. There are 4 such figures in history: Zhang Daolin, Ji Xuan, Sa Shujian, Su Jinyang. Of course, throughout history, emperors have also conferred titles to celestial masters. Just, however, then they can only be considered pseudo-exorcists, regarded as a puppet in the court. After the founding of the nation, animals cannot become spirits, cannot slay demons or eliminate evil. No more achievements. There won't be any imperial titles conferred. Where did this celestial master of the mystical gate come from? The corpse transporter spoke with a face full of reverence. Absolutely has the ability of a celestial master. Who is he? He is. The corpse transporter suddenly stopped in his tracks, looking towards the north. I can't say. I don't dare to say. He looked northward, just like when Mr. Chen looked to the north. It was as if there was a being that can control their life and death. He didn't say. I didn't ask any further, because people like them. Things that cannot be said. It's pointless to ask. Returned to the village. Grandma looked me over from head to toe. After confirming that I wasn't injured, only then did I feel relieved, and blame me for running around everywhere, causing trouble for Mr. Y. The corpse handler reassured Grandma. With him here, just won't let me get hurt. While Grandma was busy in the house, the corpse transporter smoking a cigarette suddenly arrived. Hinan, next you have to go with me to Xiangxi. Going to Xiangxi? I recalled what Mr. Chen just told me. If the corpse handler takes me to Xiangxi, let me try to buy some time. How could he know? The corpse handler will take me to Xiangxi. Grandma also mentioned before. If the corpse driver takes me to Xiangxi, you absolutely must not go. Why did the corpse transporter ask me to go to Xiangxi? What is the purpose? The corpse handler explained. Peaceful. The art of corpse transportation belongs to the Miao ethnic group's shamanic tradition. I am casting spells here. It has already broken the rules. If I continue to stay here, I'm afraid trouble is coming next. Soul summoning technique. Recall your grandfather's lingering spirit. I need to ask my grandmother. I threw the question at Grandma. If the corpse handler were to ask her, she will definitely refuse my trip to Xiangxi. You have to come with me tonight. Otherwise, wait for more people from the Xuanmin to arrive. At that time, I won't be able to protect you either. I will also be in danger. Senior, let's go now. Isn't it a bit too rushed? Can you? My voice is very loud. At this moment, Grandma is boiling water in the kitchen. Just happened to walk out. She asked, "Anyazit, where are you planning to go?" I was about to speak. The corpse handler hurriedly signaled me with his eyes. Not. The senior said he is prepared. Now go find that eagle demon. I feel it's too rushed. He needs to rest. Let's talk about it tomorrow night. Also, Mr. White, let's rest for one night before we talk. I've had enough fatigue these past few days. Grandma believed my words. The corpse handler buried his head and continued to smoke. No more words were spoken. Just thinking about what to brew. Thinking back to that night, I tracked him down to Feng village. I just thought of, after he forced Mr. Chen to retreat. Emerging from the darkness again, they found Lai Gang's hiding spot. He has astonishing eyesight, from beginning to end. I didn't notice anything. There are still people hiding nearby. He actually took a glance, found Lai Gang from the darkness. Such an existence. Is it possible for me to be tracked? And yes, wait a moment. The whole family has dinner. It's the time for your uncle to go up the mountain. I've been on edge these days. Danger lurks everywhere. I actually forgot about my granduncle's situation. I let Grandma take a rest. Said to wait a moment before going. The egg of the corpse handler. I will not be in danger. After Grandma entered the room, I urged the corpse handler again. Pingen, we must hurry to Xiangxi. Otherwise, things will get really complicated. Tomorrow morning is the time for great uncle to go up the mountain. I must see him off. Wait a moment. I still have to go over and guard his spirit for a while. Senior, can you delay it for a day or two before discussing? After sending your great uncle up the mountain, just leave. We can't delay any longer. Sorry, I can't assist with that. I could only nod. At this moment, I went to my granduncle's house. The corpse handler also went with us. The funeral of my great-uncle did not invite a master. After all what happened in Lai family village, it has already been transmitted to the nearby village. Not every feng shui master. Everyone is as capable as Mr. Chen. They avoid our village at all costs. After offering incense to great-uncle, I stood vigil for him at the funeral home. The corpse handler sat at the door smoking, acted very cautiously, until it was time to eat. The pallbearers have arrived. Everyone is waiting in the morning hall for the rooster to crow and the coffin to be raised. At that moment, Grandma ran over. After all, she is getting older. I was about to call Grandma to go back and rest. But Grandma hurriedly pulled me out of the morning hall, the corpse driver smoking at the door. I also saw Grandma's anxious expression. So he asked, "Big sister, what urgent matter has happened?" Grandma whispered to us. Grandpa ran away. How could this happen? I never expected something like this to happen. The corpse transporters are already running towards my house. I quietly informed my uncle about the situation. We can't send granduncle for now. Uncle reminded me to be careful. Great uncle will take him up the mountain. This extraordinary moment. Don't worry so much. Ran home in one breath. I saw the expression of worry on the corpse transporter's face intensify. I asked the coffin bearer, "Did you see how Grandpa ran?" The corpse transporter illuminated a broken door plank. It is obvious that someone is controlling the corpse. I really let my guard down. Why didn't you bring him along? Grandma also told us what happened. He was sleeping, heard someone knocking at the door. I thought we were back. Then he got up to open the door. But what he saw after getting up, it was indeed my grandfather who was banging on the door. Grandpa's body saw Grandma, suddenly turned violent. He actually slammed the door open and ran out together, the path of the corpse carriers. We must do it before dawn. Retrieve the corpse of the insepuelo. Otherwise it will be very troublesome. After leaving the village towards the south, we ran non-stop for half an hour, until they reached the back of a hill. The corpse driver suddenly stopped in his tracks. "Senior, why aren't you leaving?" The corpse handler pointed to the distance. "That is the direction of Nanping village. You suspect Grandpa's body. It was done by Lai Gang and the others." The corpse handler did not respond, but there was a hint of wariness in his eyes. He dared not enter Nanping village. Is afraid of competing desperately with Mr. Chen. At that time, he will definitely be at the window. At that time, the ruthless Lai Gang. I suddenly discovered footprints on the ground. The corpse handler also looked over. The footprints were made by 2 feet close together, leaping forward. It's the footprints left by the beast's shoes. Its size can be roughly determined. It should be what my grandfather left behind. Followed the footprints and chased after. The corpse transporter couldn't care less about that. We headed in the direction of the footprints. Increased speed to follow. But those footprints led on for several hundred meters. But suddenly changed direction, heading west. Did Grandpa really not go to Nanping village? I looked towards the west with a puzzled expression. Catch up first and then talk. The corpse handler didn't have so many doubts. For him, it's better that my grandfather is not in Nanping village. After following the footprints for over an hour, we finally went outside. The sky was already dimly bright. We see a canyon in the distance. There is mist in the canyon, and the dilapidated village faintly appeared in the canyon. But it made me stop in my tracks. That dilapidated village is nowhere else. It is a sealed village. Did Grandpa go to Feng village? The corpse transporter also stopped in his tracks. He also showed shock. Senior, I looked at the corpse driver. The corpse handler was looking at his severed pinky finger. No hurry. Wait until dawn to go in. A moment later, he has just made a decision. All right. The decision of the corpse handler did not surprise me. After all, not long ago just outside the sealed village, a finger was severed. Unforgettable. The corpse courier sat down. Keep smoking the sweat tobacco. He reached into the bag and pulled out a pack of cigarettes. Threw it at me. Let's have one. I don't smoke. It will always happen. He said the same words as Mr. Chen, looking at the cigarette box in my hand. Above there is the heavenly show. 3 golden-bordered large characters. I simply took out a lit stick. I took a deep breath and inhaled. Suddenly a violent cough erupted, coughing until her face turned red. The corpse handler looked at my disheveled appearance. Suddenly laughed. I coughed for quite a while before I calmed down. I feel a sharp pain in my lungs. At this moment, the sky has completely brightened. Looking from a distance, the entire canyon is shrouded in mist. But this is a sunny day in June and July. This fog is quite unusual. Let's go take a look first." The corpse handler put away the sweat smoke. We headed towards the canyon together, arrived at the village entrance. The corpse handler asked me to walk in front. I didn't ask much. He let me go first. It should be a sequel effect. He is afraid of the mule-legged man. I stepped into Feng village, until I took 7 steps out, the shadow of the corpse handler behind. It has started to become blurry. I couldn't help but marvel in my heart. What a thick fog! I hope nothing goes wrong. The corpse handler quickly caught up. Around the dilapidated village, it is a crumbling wall, covered in climbing vines. Weeds grow wildly along the road. I observed the situation in Fang village last time. In fact, this abandoned village is not very large. There are only a few dozen households, can only accommodate about 100 people, and Grandpa's footprints, after entering the village, suddenly came to a halt. "We have lost our direction. Senior, what should we do next?" I turned back to ask him. Visibility in the mist. It's only about 10 meters. To be honest, I can see more than 10 to 20 meters away at night. But the corpse driver can see further. This fog, it obstructs our vision even more than at night. He must be hiding in the village. The corpse handler said to me, "But there's nothing in the village." I looked at the corpse handler, suddenly remembered. At first, he controlled several corpses using his peers, entering Feng village, and curiously, the bodies that entered Feng village, it's gone too. I once thought this is related to Luo Zuzi. But what if my grandfather is just like those corpses? The words that disappeared in Feng village. Then the problem became bizarre. The corpse transporter looked up at the sky above the village. The sky is also shrouded in mist. Let's find it first and then talk. This fog is problematic. We need to be careful. Sorry, I can't assist with that. Me and the corpse handler. In every corner of the village. I searched everywhere. I also didn't see any trace of Grandpa until I reached the front of a dilapidated wooden house with a tightly shut door. Kicked out with 1 foot. The gate repaired by Master Jiu in the 9th year. With a clang, it fell down. "Hingen, what are you doing at the door?" the corpse suddenly questioned. "I just want to go in and take a look." I walked into that dilapidated room. The corpse escort followed behind me. In this peak village, he seemed much more timid than I was. "Anaze, you must have heard about the power of Feng village. Why are you still so reckless? Next, please don't mess up the things inside. Otherwise, we would offend things we shouldn't. Is it really that impressive? I once thought Feng village was very sinister, but ever since I became a disciple of Luo Zuzi inside, I no longer find Feng village that scary. I think the rumors are somewhat exaggerated." The room was filled with cobwebs, even though the corpse handler and I were very careful. It's all over my head. We didn't find anything in the house. And just when I was with the corpse handler, as I turned and walked out of that room, a gust of wind blew by. I seemed to see one. A shadow quickly darted past the door. Quick chase. The corpse handler also saw it. I chased after the body courier, but only after running for several hundred meters did. There was no trace of that figure. His speed is really too fast. But at that moment, the corpse transporter suddenly frowned. This village isn't that big. Indeed, the entire village is built in the canyon. The total length is only about 500 meters. Just now, we ran out all at once for 500 meters. Strangely enough, we did not run out of the village. The corpse transporter walked a few steps forward. pointing at the collapsed door of a mud house. I looked into the past. Instantly stunned, I kicked that door down, and we just saw it right here, the fleeting figure. In other words, we kept running forward. 500 meters later, back to square one. I use a corpse driver. Is it the ghost hitting the wall? In broad daylight. You may also encounter a ghost hitting the wall. This doesn't make sense. The corpse handler finished speaking. Continue walking forward. I followed behind. We walked for another 500 meters later. Once again I returned to that earthen house. It must be the ghost hitting the wall without a doubt. The corpse transporter did not hurry, go break that ghost wall, but instead re-entered the earthen house. He turned back in the room. I saw it. A look of shock appeared on his face. After he came out, I asked, "Did you discover any problems?" "Once you go in, just look back and you'll know." I entered the earthen house, suddenly turned around. At a glance, it surprised me greatly. It is the same shadow of a person, flickering past the doorway, and the corpse escort standing outside the door, but did not see anything. I walked out of the room. Once again I turned back as I entered inside. The shadow flickered by again. Very strange indeed. I asked, "What's going on with that shadow?" To know someone like us, a person whose soul is different from ordinary people, it is extremely unlikely to see a phantom, even less likely to see continuously. Repeating phantom. It should be related to this fob. Since we entered this room, I fell into a ghost wall trap. As for the figure that flashed by, I can't explain it clearly either. What happened? Can we still go out? At this moment, I have some worries in my heart. The corpse transporter did not answer, but sit down, continued to smoke the sweat. In the day spent with him, I found his smoke shadow to be very large. After more than 10 minutes, he suddenly looked at me. "Hingen, you've been to Wine Village before, right?" My heart sank. I didn't know how to respond to him. The corpse handler said again, "Perhaps we can only find. Only with the boots can I go out. He is your master. You should know where he is. He died a long time ago." His question seemed strange. I have been to Wine Village. It cannot be hidden. So I just told the truth. He is actually dead. The face of the corpse transporter. Once again a look of shock appeared. "You tell me, did you discover anything back then?" "If I'm not mistaken, in this village. The reason some bizarre things happen, it must be related to Luo Zuzi. If we could find the artifacts he used in his lifetime, the words of the, we can not only go out, it should still be able to break his barrier. Find your grandfather's body." The corpse handler stared at me after he finished speaking. Then the gaze suddenly became lively. I couldn't help but feel a surge of fear in my heart. I tried hard to put on a calm face. "I also want to find Grandpa's body, but I don't know where the porcelain sword is. When I first entered the village, they only saw the corpse of Luo Zuzi." The corpse driver suddenly exclaimed, "Then where is his body?" I don't know. The last time I came, it was evening. It's too scary inside. I couldn't see anything clearly." I put on a face of feigned terror. The corpse handler did not continue to ask me. I just realized the flaws in my words. If I truly fear the village lockdown. Just as I entered the village, the corpse handler asked me to walk in front. I did not hesitate at all. Next, we continue walking in the mist, but the footsteps are not fast, until we passed by 3 more times. At the entrance of the earthen house, the corpse driver stopped in his tracks. "If we really can't find that porcelain sword, Or maybe it's the corpse of Luo Zuzi. Then we can only wait for the fog to clear. Only then can you walk out. Senior, can't you really just hit the wall against the ghost? The corpse handler looked at the earthen house. It's hard to break through. Perhaps the problem lies within this house. But as for the reason, I can't find it either. I am not willing to accept this. So I entered that room again. Turning back is the same, but this time turning back. But I didn't see it. The fleeting shadow. Same. The corpse handler at the door is gone too. What's going on? Senior colleague, where did you go? I rushed out quickly. Look around. There was no trace of the corpse driver at all. As he really left. Is it really this short of a time? Even if I walk, it should be discovered by me as well. Perhaps there is something wrong with this house. I hurried back to that earthen house. Look back again. I saw it again this time. The fleeting figure. The corpse transporter also appeared outside the door. It's good that it hasn't disappeared. When I walked out, the corpse transporter came to question me. Peace be with you. Why did it take you so long to come out? Butte, have you been standing here the whole time? Nonsense. I'm not standing here. Did I really go in? I will recount the scene I just experienced, told the corpse handler. He was also taken aback after hearing that. Hope ignited once again on his face. Sure enough, the problem lies within this house. I'll give it a try. Maybe we can still find the magnetic arrows on the track. He finished speaking and rushed inside. But after he entered the room, yet did not turn back, but went straight inside. After more than 10 minutes had passed, a voice came from inside. Pingen, where are you? I'm outside. After I answered this sentence, realized the problem, so I rushed in. The enclosed room is not very spacious. It can be seen at a glance, but the shadow of the corpse driver was gone. Senior, where are you? There was no place to hide in the room. The corpse wrangler just vanished like that. I tried to turn around in the room. Not only did I not see the corpse driver, the fleeting shadow was also not seen. I don't know what the principle behind this is. Continuously searching for the corpse driver in the village, but after a search, found nothing at all. Same. I also didn't leave the village. I don't know how much time has passed. I am already tired and thirsty from walking, until I returned to that mud house again. He sat down helplessly. Perhaps it's because I'm too tired. A wave of fatigue hits. In a hazy daze, Grandpa appeared in front of me. Don't trust him. Grandpa said a word to me. Grandfather, what exactly do you want to say? In the end, who should you trust? Grandpa did not respond to me. It seemed as if he couldn't see me at all. I can't hear my own voice either. But he kept repeating that sentence. Don't trust him. Don't trust him. I got up and walked towards my grandfather in front of me. But Grandpa, who is right in front of me. Yet it feels as if there is a distant gap between us. No matter how close I get to him, they always maintained a certain distance from him. Grandfather, I shouted loudly. Grandpa in front of me suddenly seemed startled. The figure suddenly faded. I was jolted awake. Pingen, you finally woke up. The voice of the corpse transporter came through. Dreaming again. Grandpa appeared in my dreams twice and repeated the same sentence. Is he trying to tell me something? Looking at the corpse herder beside me, I asked him what happened. The corpse handler told me. He entered the room. After coming out, I didn't see me. After searching the village for most of the day, they finally discovered, I didn't even know when, returned to the earthen house, and fell asleep. Similarly, I also shared my own experiences with him. It's similar to a corpse transporter. Of course, I dreamed about my grandfather. I cannot tell him. The corpse handler expressed his worries. We entered Feng village at 6 in the morning. It's already past 5 o'clock. We have been inside for a long time. You should know. This winged village is located in a canyon. It's very humid inside, with mountains on both sides. It's hard to see the sunlight during the day. This is not good feng shui. It belongs to the land of gathering shadows. Even as a grave site, the corpse absorbs the dark energy gathered in the canyon for a long time. It can also easily turn deadly. So if we can't get out before it gets dark, things will only get more complicated. It is even possible. We will explain here. Words of the corpse handler. It really scared me quite a bit. I didn't expect that. We are actually trapped in this wind village. It has been over 10 hours. I walked out of the earthen house. The mist is still there, but it was not as intense as before. The fog seems to be clearing. The corpse driver quickly ran out, looking at the mist that has already faded quite a bit. A spark of light blossomed in the weary eyes. Quickly, perhaps we can get out before dark. Not long after setting off, after the fire appeared by the roadside, the remaining wood and ashes, I was startled. Isn't this the thatched cottage of Liu Kwezi? At that time, I burned his body with copper oil. The thatched house turned to ashes as well. This mark, I won't be mistaken. The corpse transporter also saw the ashes left after the fire. From the moment I entered Feng village until now, we all didn't notice the trace of the fire here. This place clearly caught his attention. But strangely, the corpse handler took another glance, but did not say much. This makes me suspect that he is brewing something. Next, our footsteps are not quick. In a moment, ahead is the exit of the canyon. We have left Feng village, reached the exit of the canyon. We saw Grandpa's footprints again. The footprints jumped out from the village. In other words, Grandpa has already left this windy village. The corpse handler pointed at the footprints and said, "Your grandfather must have just come out not long ago. Let's hurry and chase after them. We need to quickly find his body." I followed the footprints with the corpse handler. But soon I found another problem, because we have already gone too far from the village, and the direction ahead is towards Xiangxi. Senior, we can't leave now. I called the corpse handler. Pingen, your grandfather's body is not far ahead. Don't you want to find him? In front is Xiangxi. I'm not ready to go over there yet. I must go back and tell Grandma first. Not possible. We need to find your grandfather first. The corpse handler grabbed hold firmly. I will continue to move forward. I am breaking free from him. If I went to Xiangxi with him, isn't that just what he wanted? But just at that moment, in the distance among the grass, a shadowy figure caught our attention. That figure swayed unpredictably, sometimes short, sometimes tall. Upon closer inspection, resembles my grandfather's figure very much. The reason the figure appears to be fluctuating in height, it is because Grandpa moves forward with a leap. Look quickly. Your grandfather is right ahead, the corpse driver excitedly said to me, and chased after my grandfather. This time I didn't hesitate. After all, Grandpa's body is right in front of us. We chased all the way, but soon Grandpa entered a forest, lost without a trace. But the soft soil on the ground, there are footprints left by him. Continue following the footprints. And we are getting farther away from Lai family village. Walked out of the forest. Arrived at a narrow path, a figure appeared in the distance. The figure wore a daïst robe. He is no one else. It is indeed Mr. Chen. He blocked our way. Wai Kun, are you planning to take Lai Ping'an back to Xiangxi? The corpse handler's expression suddenly darkened. Chen Jiu, you haven't recovered yet, and you're trying to stop me. Do you want to go down together with me? Stop pretending. Leave Lai Laosan's body and Lai Ping'an. Otherwise, it's as good as death. I won't let you have it easy either. You are really crazy. Is it worth doing this for that matter? When the corpse carrier spoke, Mr. Chen was closing in step by step. Mouth slightly moves. It seems ready to recite the incantation. I understand. You are not here for the words. You are really crazy. You are truly crazy. Seamless micro-heaven. The rivers, sun, moon, mountains, seas, and stars are all in the palm of my hand. The 5 histories are clear and evident. Xian is dark. The 33 heavenly gods are under the 5 laws. Qidong is dong. Qisai jai sai. Qinan is an. Qidbei is bei. From the seamless throat, do not execute without orders. As Mr. Chen's aura transformed dramatically, the shock on the face of the corpse transporter has turned into apprehension. Ping'an, let's go together. He forcefully squeezed the soul. It won't last long. The same aged corpse raised by the corpse herder. Mr. Chen performed the micro-heaven divine spell. This kind of spell, it can make him incredibly strong. But the corpse driver is the same age as Sheng, but can control a person's soul if the corpse handler shakes the same age. Mr. Chen is afraid it will be very difficult to get close to him. Wai Kun, today I will perish together with you. Mr. Chen suddenly shouted, charged towards the corpse handler. Meanwhile, I also made my move. I did not rush towards Mr. Chen, but instead he embraced the corpse transporter, making it impossible for him to shake the peers in his hands. Ping'an. The corpse handler looked at me in surprise. He hadn't spoken yet. Mr. Chen rushed over. Tao Mujian struck down on the head of the corpse handler. He gritted his teeth in pain. But this is not the end. Mr. Chen was once again riding on the back of the corpse handler. A flurry of punches and kicks, until the corpse handler's head was bleeding profusely. Mr. Chen finally stopped moving. Likewise, Mr. Chen at this moment has already weakly collapsed on the ground. The 2 old men lay there like that. No one had the strength to resist any more. I walked over. The corpse handler stared at me and asked, "Why do you want to help him?" "Because you are scarier than him." Simple answer. The corpse driver could only show a helpless, bitter smile. Kid, indeed, it's not simple. No wonder he's Lai Laosan's grandson. And Yazid, kill him. Quickly kill him. Mr. Chen weakly said to me. But it was at this moment. A figure is jumping towards us from a distance. Caught my attention. It turns out my grandfather has returned. Grandpa suddenly lunged at me. I couldn't dodge in time. Knocked down by him. After my grandfather knocked me down, Brad the corpse herder, then quickly disappeared. When I got up, Grandpa has already brought the corpse handler, disappeared into the distant forest. It turns out he has always been in the shadows, controlling my grandfather's corpse. You good corpse transporter Wai Kun. I had been kept in the dark all along. And Yazi, help me up. I helped Mr. Chen up. He sat on the ground with his back against a large tree. At this moment, he is already too weak to stand steadily. Enya sigh. You hurried back to the village. Lai Gang went to the village. Hurry up. But what about you? Don't worry about me. You go back to the village first, and then we'll talk." Mr. Chen finished speaking, then fell into a coma. "I can't abandon you." Mr. Chen used his life to shield me from the corpse handler, but I still doubted him. If we abandon him at this moment, I truly am not as capable as Xiangxi. I carry Mr. Chen on my back, head straight towards the village. But after all, this is far from the village. There are still nearly 10 kilometers to go. It's not something that can be done quickly, after a day of turmoil, already exhausted, carrying Mr. Chen on my back. My speed just can't improve at all. Walking and writing, it took a full 4 to 5 hours. Just returned to the village. At this moment, it's already 11 or 12 at night. Zai hour returned to the doorstep. The door opened with a push. The front door in the middle of the night. Unexpectedly, it wasn't locked. This gives me a vague sense of foreboding. Until I burst into the room, the scene before me, I immediately fell to my knees. Grandma has passed away. She is lying on the ground at this moment, looking at Grandma's lifeless body. I remembered my grandmother seen in the candlelight of the sealed-off village. It is almost identical to what is in front of me. I cried out in anguish, checked Grandma's health. I soon discovered her death mark. There are marks on the neck. It's that ominous little handprint. Just as I was about to pick up Grandma, the eerie nursery rhyme echoed once more. "Mother, oh mother, Dad killed me. The leather is made into clothing for someone to wear. Meat soup. Grandpa tastes. Grandma tastes. Mother, oh mother, I want them to taste with their lives. Taste with life. Xiangxi has arrived. She wants us to test our fate. Grandma is my closest relative. Her death has filled me with rage." I rushed out of the house. Xiangxi is slowly walking towards me. "Jeej, elder brother." The Xiangxi let out a strange laugh. Pointing at me, said, "Older brother, you're dead meat. You are finished." She gave me a strange smile. It seems to be because of my pain. Or perhaps it was because of Grandma's death. She laughed happily. "I want you to be terrified. Even if she is my younger brother, I can't worry about so much anymore. I will fight her with all my might. It's not that she is scattered in soul and spirit. It's just me dying. And after I die, even if I become a vengeful spirit, will not spare her either. At this moment, my mind is filled with hatred. I rushed over, but I didn't enter her, because I am bound by an invisible force, and my hands, even more uncontrollable, choking towards one's own throat. I pinched myself. Soon his face turned crimson from holding it in. Bloodshot eyes appeared. The brain started to experience hallucinations. I seemed to see my grandparents, waving directly at me. Is this how it ends? But I am unwilling to accept it. In a daze, that ghostly voice, it seemed to appear by my ear. "Son, your mother has come to see you. Son, Mom is here to see you. The red-clothed female ghost is my mother. Whooping Sha is my younger brother. It's really laughable. Why has it come to this? I just believe. Am I going to reunite with them? Until I can breathe." I began to gasp for breath. Coughing. That's when I realized. I'm not dead. My body, no longer under the control of that evil demon. And the ghost in red before me, it's not an illusion either. The red-clothed female ghost walked towards Xiangxi. A desolate voice echoed in my mouth. "Son, Mom has come to see you. Son, Mother has come to see you." It seemed she only knew this one sentence. Aside from that, then I won't say anything else. I. Her cries, It seemed to warn the red-clothed ghost not to come closer. "Don't ruin her good fortune." Ah! Suddenly the evil spirit lunged at the woman in red, and began to bite. The woman in the red dress let out a chilling scream. I was stunned by the scene before me. Isn't the woman in red the mother of Xiangxi? Why does she still want to hurt her? Is it just because the woman in red saved me? She is taking revenge. I suddenly remembered a saying my grandfather once told me, a vengeful spirit filled with resentment. It is not recognized by Liu King. The eagle killer must be like this. The red-dressed ghost has saved me more than once. Last time I hurt her with a peachwood sword. Looking at this moment, she was torn apart by the eagle's claw. The soul's brightness continuously fades. This is clearly meant to scare her to death. I felt a pang in my heart. Let her go. Come at me with whatever you've got. I yelled at the hawk. The eagle killer released the woman in red. The venomous gaze approaches. I couldn't help but take a step back. I. She let out a loud scream. Suddenly, it lunged at me with claws bared. I have no room to dodge. I could only watch as she rushed over, waiting for death in the blink of an eye. I pulled a talisman paper from my body. The talisman can dispel evil spirits. I reached out to her. I hoped to be able to stop her. What surprised me was, when the eagle demon came into contact with the talisman in my hand, instead I was thrown out. Xiangxi let out a terrible scream after being thrown away. She was staring at the talisman paper in my hand from a distance. Fear was evident in his eyes. She no longer dares to get close. Looking at the talisman in hand, I can hardly believe it. It is her power. The eagle demon was repelled. This talisman paper. But before they dared to yield to me. Its power far exceeds the talismans drawn by Mr. Chen. I roughly explained the situation, and took out that talisman paper. This talisman drove away the eagle Sha. Tian Shifu. Mr. Chen stared at the talisman in my hand, showed a look of shock. I asked Mr. Chen, "What kind of talisman is the Xiangxi talisman?" "The talismanic path drawn by a master-level figure." "Unexpected. Waikun actually gave you such a talisman route." Mr. Chen suddenly thought of something again. "Not right. This is not from Waikun. It is him." Mr. Chen did not continue speaking, but the shock on his face deepened. "Who is the he that Mr. Chen is talking about? Why did he give me such a powerful talisman? I haven't had the chance to ask yet." Footsteps could be heard outside the door. Enya sigh. "Look who has arrived." Mr. Chen's brow was tightly furrowed. The arrival of someone is likely not a good omen. I peeked through the crack in the door. This is quite something. The person who came is Lai Gang. He really arrived at the right time. Is this Lai Gan? Mr. Chen has already guessed the identity of the visitor. I nodded. It seems I can only accept my fate. Mr. Chen sighed helplessly. Can we really not deal with him? I am not willing to accept this. You are still far from your potential. Unless that slanting porcelain sword. Mr. Chen's words just left his lips. The door was kicked open with a bang by Lai Gang. "I can't believe you actually fought hard against Wai Kun, and almost kept him from leaving. I don't understand. Why are you doing this?" Lai Gang calmly said after entering the room, looking at us and Mr. Chen, just like staring at the prey. Mr. Chen did not reply to him. "Even if I have become Fei Shen meat." The gaze, however, was incredibly proud. "The controller is just a form of witchcraft. Mr. Chen is indeed a master of the mysterious arts. The orthodox Taoist school, this disdainful gaze is innate." Lai Gang turned his gaze towards me. "Pinnan, tell me, "Where is this sword? I really don't want to kill innocents." I asked, "Is this sword really that important to you? Makes you willing to kill innocents for it?" He nodded. "Very important. More important than my life. So as long as you hand over this sword, I will not only ensure your safety, your grandfather's body, it will also be sent back." Mr. Chen suddenly became sharp and insightful. "Don't trust him. Seeking death." Lai Gang's expression darkened and walked towards Mr. Chen. Heaven and earth, the mysterious doctrine, root of all energies. 4 spirit lanterns, Liu Jiu Liu Ding. Watching Lai Gang walk towards Mr. Chen, I grabbed Mr. Chen's peach wood sword nearby and recited the incantation. I don't know if it will be useful. Mr. Chen recited this incantation every time, the peach wood sword in hand. It bloomed with a red glow. In my desperate situation, I can only give it a try, even if it's just a joke. Help me eliminate the essence. Demon King Journey, be proactive as the law commands. As the incantation was recited, peach wood sword in hand, there has been no change at all. Lai Gang also stopped in his tracks. This scene made me laugh. But soon his smile will stay, gradually transformed into shock. At this moment, I am tightly holding onto a cicada shell. Sudden changes occurred. He unexpectedly transformed into a piece of red-hot iron. It resembles a sword. This sword. Mr. Chen and Lai Gang shouted in surprise at the same time. "Quick, quick, use this sword to strike him." Mr. Chen pointed at Lai Gang's trembling hands. He appeared extremely excited at this moment. I didn't hesitate either. The iron teeth in hand swung towards Lai Gang. I struck suddenly. Lai Gang never expected that this sword would be in my hands. Still in shock at this moment. Asterisk snack asterisk. When he finally reacted. The crimson hot iron in my hand has already struck his body. Lai Gang was knocked down to the ground by my blows. A mouthful of fresh blood spat out. Her face immediately turned pale. Seeing Lai Gang's current state, I am utterly shocked. I didn't expect this sword to be so powerful. I raised the sword and struck down at him for the second time. A paper figure suddenly flew out, caught the ruler in my hand. Lai Gang seized this opportunity, rolled over to the door, rolling and crawling, bursting through the door. I tore the paper figure apart, let out a terrible scream, and a puff of black smoke emerged. I am about to chase after Lai Gang. The crimson branding iron in hand suddenly vanished, once again transformed into a cicada shell. Looking at the cicada shell in my hand, Mr. Chen was shocked. The original form of this sword is actually something like this. And yes, show me. I handed it to Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen scrutinized for a while, handed it over to me, and said cautiously, "Make sure to keep it safe. Never let outsiders know. This is the prototype of this sword. Next, I will share the experiences I had with Xiangxi during these days." Told Mr. Chen, "It's good that you weren't trapped in this sealed-off village. Draw this sword." Mr. Chen felt a wave of relief. Then he told me, Wai Kun tricked me into sealing the village. It is because he suspects that this sword is right in Feng village. Since I was the last person to see Liu Zuzi, they believe I know the whereabouts of this sword. But I never thought from the beginning to the end. This sword is on me. As for the mist in the village, actually it's just about daring to act. It's just a fog formation created using the negative energy from the canyon. Only someone new like me can be deceived. As long as there is a slight tilt, you can see through his tricks. The fog began to clear later on. It's because of me, even after being trapped inside for over 10 hours. There was no plan to find this sword from the sealed village. He and Xiangxi made another speculation. I believe this sword should not be sealed in the village. Then they secretly removed the fog formation, and used my grandfather's corpse. First, take me to Xiangxi and control the situation. So we were in that earthen house. When I turned back, I saw the figures flashing by. What is going on? A living person can't move that fast. It doesn't seem like an illusion that confuses the soul. The shadow that flashed by should refer to a person. In other words, Xiangxi also entered the sealed village. Mr. Chen nodded. Of course. I later went to Feng village. It's just that when I went there, you just happened to have gone out. Xiangxi has also returned to the village, taking advantage of the fact that Waikun is alone. So I began to intercept you, stop him from taking you away. I really don't know how to thank Mr. Chen. Without him, I'm afraid I'm already in Xiangxi at this moment. But why can't we go to Xiangxi? And Grandma never let me go when she was alive. I looked at Mr. Chen with confusion, not yet speaking. Mr. Chen then understood my doubts. This is what your grandfather means. Before you become a master of the academy, you can never set foot in Xiangxi. And as I can't take you away from the village anymore. The road ahead can only rely on yourself. Mr. Chen, what are you talking about? Now I can exchange words. I can protect you now. Wait until you recover. It's too late. I haven't finished speaking. Mr. Chen, do you know why I don't have a shadow? I stared at Mr. Chen, waiting for him to explain. Ordinary people cannot see the malevolent spirits unless the soul is incomplete or before dying. You will see those things. In youth, I am filled with curiosity about learning magic, but I did not become the innate conditions of a scholar in the Tao, destined for this life and the path of learning. No fate at all. Until the year I turned 15, someone has completed me. He opened my spiritual eye for me. I left my soul and spirit below. From that moment on, I stepped into the realm of learning, and in the school gate, gained a certain reputation. Until later, I met your grandfather, exposed his conspiracy, and my soul was not pressed down below, but in his hands. That was when I realized I am the ninth in my family. He is just one of his pawns. Mr. Chen finished speaking. It was a face full of bitterness. After discovering the conspiracy of the person I trusted the most, only to realize that it's just a tool used by the other party. That was the collapse of faith. But Mr. Chen's words, yet it has completely overturned my imagination. You should know. A person is missing a soul and spirit. Most will die quickly. Some are able to survive. But such people are either foolish, either a vegetable, and life is not long. Mr. Chen yet has managed to live safely for so long. Visible, he is the one in my words. How extraordinary it is. I asked him, the one you mentioned, is he your master? Where is he now? He looked to the north. Fear was revealed in their eyes. Again in the north. What kind of existence is there in the north? Not just Mr. Chen. Even when Waikun from the Mist Gate mentioned it, they all looked wary, dare not reveal any information about him. I tentatively asked Mr. Chen, who is that person after all? A very powerful person. Mr. Chen did not say anything more regarding that person's situation. This doesn't surprise me either. Mr. Chen said again, and yes, next you will leave the village. Completely step into the mysterious realm. Of course. Before you leave, we must first get rid of the red-dressed ghost and the evil killer. The woman in red. A sudden pain pierced my heart. Is she my mother? Can you tell me? What exactly happened back then? Mr. Chen said, She is indeed your mother. But what happened that year? Perhaps now I can only ask your great uncle. I don't want them to be terrified, especially my mother. After all, she has never harmed anyone. I want to let them enter the cycle of reincarnation. Mr. Chen said, Then we must get to the bottom of it. The events that happened back then. Give them justice. They vented their grievances. Otherwise, they are ultimately vengeful spirits. Good. I will give them a fair deal. I went to great-uncle's house, told them about grandma's death. After hearing this, second grandpa immediately frowned, trembling all over. He really won't let you go. He has returned for revenge. I asked second grandpa, what exactly happened back then? Why did my mother have to die? How did he die? Why did he turn into a vengeful spirit? Unwilling to leave, Grandpa took a deep breath. Many things. You really should have known. Grandpa told me about what happened back then. 18 years ago. My mother is pregnant. They are twins. This should have been a joyous occasion. My father was extremely happy. Others hoped for prosperous offspring. But my grandfather found out, after my mother was pregnant with twins. But my father took my mother to the city for an abortion. My father is unwilling. But later he was persuaded by his grandfather. As for what my grandfather told him, only they know. The outsiders do not know. Later my mother and father had a big argument. Returned to the maternal home in Xiangxi. During this time, Grandpa also let my father go pick him up. But father was beaten up by mother's family. Time passes day by day, until my mother was about to give birth. The family from her maiden home is anxious. A married daughter. There is no reason to have children at the maternal home. This is unlucky for the maternal family. Mother fell into the river on her way back. That river is not big. No one is deep. But I just can't find my mother's body. Later, my grandfather went north to hire a corpse retrieval worker. Just pulled mother's body out of the river. The corpse retrieval person did not take grandpa's money. I said to my grandfather as I was leaving, take the fetus out of the womb. Mother and child separated for cremation. Otherwise, the consequences will be endless. My grandfather followed suit. But just when the fetus was taken out of my mother's womb, I discovered that one was actually alive. At the pleas of Dad and Grandma, Grandpa's heart softened. I survived. Grandpa used my younger brother's skin, burying my birth chart. Deceived the ghostly messenger. The younger brother's body couldn't be burned away. Even close friends cannot melt it away. Grandpa was at a loss. My mother and younger brother's bodies were taken away by my father. After my father passed away, there was no news from him ever since. So after the younger brother finished painting and came back, it is for revenge. Perhaps my mother is like this because of my grandparents. Because I raised you. Her resentment has lessened somewhat, so no one was harmed. Great-grandfather nodded. This is how Dakai's. But how should I change? The resentment in their hearts. Yin Sha has hated me for entering the valley. It seems the problem is indeed quite tricky. What did Grandpa say? I also dare not go to my home. He had seen my mother's death back then, left him with a shadow. After discussion, in the end, only my two paternal uncles were left to me. Come help handle the upcoming matters. Extraordinary times. Funeral arrangements should be kept simple. The memorial hall is set up. The day has already broken. When I woke up at noon, Mr. Chen can already get out of bed and walk. At this moment, he was leaning on a cane. Her figure has also become hunched. It felt like everything changed overnight. Aged by 10 years. Mr. Chen told me he only has 7 days left to live. He will take 3 days. After finishing my grandmother's funeral, the remaining 4 days, he will keep it for himself. I couldn't help but feel a pang in my heart. At that moment Uncle arrived. A surprising piece of news brought to us. Mr. Chen and I were both stunned in place. Lai Gang has died. The body was discovered in his yard. It seems that Lai Gang last night, after being injured by my magnetic arrow, the true body, did not leave the village, but returned home. Mr. Chen and I arrived at Lai Gang's home. Lai Gang has claw marks of evil spirits on him. The neck is marked with the bite of the dark spirit. It's obvious. He was bitten to death by a dark spirit. I asked Mr. Chen, "Why is this happening? Isn't Xiangxi controlled by Lai Gang? Is it being counterattacked by the little ghost?" Mr. Chen did not answer me. He pried open Lai Gang's mouth. After Lai Gang's mouth was pried open, a foul smell assaulted the senses. It almost made me nauseous. It is damp and foul. After the Xiangxi absorbed his blood essence, not only can it restore grievances, I fear it will be even more powerful than before. It seems that things are far from as simple as I imagined. Xiangxi still listened to his commands, but I will never be controlled by him. Mr. Chen stuck a few talisman papers on Lai Gang and instructed the villagers to take his body, immediately use copper oil for cremation. It must not be left until night. The villagers did not dare to be careless. Immediately took action. Mr. Chen and I just returned to my doorstep. Mr. Chen suddenly looked up at the sky. His expression gradually became serious. "It's going to rain." I looked up at the sky. Dark clouds are rising. The sunlight has been blocked. Signs of impending rain. This day became unusual. "Quickly, hurry back. You must keep an eye on Lai Gang's body." Mr. Chen suddenly became anxious. I turned and ran towards Lai Gang's house. Just ran a few steps. Just because of being in a hurry, I tripped and fell. I stepped forward to help him up. Mr. Chen not only aged 10 years overnight, and not as agile as before. "You go first. I'll be there shortly. Keep a close watch on Lai Gang's body. Never let him be taken away." Mr. Chen anxiously instructed me. I hurried towards the location where the villagers were cremating Lai Gang, until I saw the raging fire burning, feeling much more at ease. But soon I discovered that the burning campfire had a problem. There was no body of Lai Gang in the bonfire. What burns is a paper effigy, but the villagers were completely unaware. It seemed in their eyes that paper figure is undoubtedly Lai Gang's corpse. Mr. Chen rushed over. The paper figure has turned to ashes. Mr. Chen hurriedly asked me, "How are you? Is there any situation?" "It is a paper figure." I pointed to the fire pit, the contrast between what I saw and the villagers' experiences. Informed Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen looked at the sky. Although the clouds are thick and dark, but it didn't rain. Mr. Chen was anxious. The dark clouds covered the sun, then used the finger-pointing technique to replace Lai Gang. "It seems Lai Gang is about to break the curse. And it's best to deal with the Xiangxi matter tonight." I asked Mr. Chen, "What do the villagers do?" Mr. Chen shook his head. "It shouldn't be. It could also be that malevolent spirit. The villagers were blinded by ghosts. I am shocked, although the sun is covered by dark clouds. But after all, it is broad daylight. Being blinded by a ghost in broad daylight. Only that ominous force could achieve it." Time quickly passed to the evening. Mr. Chen had two cousins. Help me keep vigil for Grandma. He took me to the inner room and closed the door, although the lights were on in the room. But Mr. Chen was at the table, lit a candle. "Mr. Chen, what are you doing?" I asked him with confusion. "I remember. You said during the village lockdown. You emerged from the glow of the candle. I saw the state of your grandmother's death in advance. Is that right?" "Sure." I nodded. For Mr. Chen, perhaps I shouldn't have concealed so much. "All right then. You just look at it one more time. I can only give it a try. Mr. Chen told me to just relax and watch the glow of the candle. It doesn't matter whether it succeeds or not." Mr. Chen turned off the lights. I sat in the chair watching the glow of the candle. But until my eyes started to feel sore, I can't make out anything. Just when I was about to give up, Mr. Chen said, "Don't blink. Stay focused and keep watching." I listened to Mr. Chen's words until my hair color matches my eyes. When tears are about to flow, the light of the candle before me has also started to blur. I am going to give up again. Just as I was about to blink, the pupils suddenly constricted. The candlelight in front of me has changed, turned into a strange blue. In the blue flames, an image gradually becomes clearer. Under the blazing sun and clear sky, a cast iron pot. The iron pot is filled with boiling water. There is a body of a baby with a thick foreskin in the boiling water. Let out a mournful scream. The truth before me left me almost breathless. It turns out my younger brother was just like me back then. It is a living baby born. I was lucky to be chosen by my grandfather, but the younger brother was treated cruelly by him. Life has come to an end. Suddenly, the clear sky is filled with dark clouds. The heavy rain poured down. I suddenly remembered the eerie song sung by the eagle killer. That song. Actually, it is the eagle shot telling its grievances. The screen is blurry. It was faintly visible as night fell. A young man, staring coldly at Grandpa's room. I struggled to see that scene clearly. I instinctively felt it. Young man. It's the father I've never met. The candle extinguished. Blown out by Mr. Chen. Cold sweat has soaked my clothes. As the candle extinguished, I kept gasping for breath, unable to speak. "Anazit, how are you?" Mr. Chen looked at me with a worried expression. I suddenly stood up. A whirlwind of chaos. Lost consciousness. Mother has come to see you." Mom is here to see you." The woman in red appeared in the darkness. "Mother." A pang of pain struck my heart. Called out loud. Suddenly cried out in pain. But I can't cry tears. But what surprised me next was, the woman in the red dress suddenly looked at me. You are me." Mother spoke to me. Resentment lingers. The soul struggles in the mortal realm, unwilling to depart. Just because I can't let go of the child. A woman is inherently fragile. A mother becomes strong. Anya sigh. "Wake up. Wake up." Mr. Chen's voice came through. It feels like silence is right beside me. But there was no trace of him beside me. What on earth is going on? Several times, the ghost friends in Chu, the false warrior Shangri-La Pingan's soul returns. The soul returns. It turns out they are calling the soul. Mr. Chen is calling my soul. After understanding everything, I turned and walked away. Mother spoke. "Lao Huai Shuzaya, Lao Huai Shuzaya." Mom has something to tell me. But at this moment, everything in front of me blurred again. I suddenly woke up. Inside the room, Mr. Chen stared at me with a worried expression. What is going on? I can feel it. If Mr. Chen hadn't blown out that candle, I'm just afraid I might die while watching the wax." "You're awake now," Mr. Chen explained. "Watching wax art is extremely exhausting for the mind. Once you enter, you can see the wax. If not forcibly terminated, it will drain your soul and lead to your demise. Remember for the future, if it weren't for someone I trust immensely, do not underestimate the wax. I am puzzled. Why wasn't there this situation last time? Your grandfather's methods. The 3 corpse marks he left behind. The last corpse mark saved you. And Yazid, you tell me, what did you see?" "I will see the scene in the candlelight," told Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen listened, did not express much surprise. "And when I spoke of my unconsciousness, when I saw the woman in the red dress," Mr. Chen's expression changed. "You can communicate with your mother now. It seems that Liuo Zuzi, not only did it teach you how to read wax, it also taught you how to go off key. The ghostly path's ultimate martial arts will unite all. Adding the porcelain sword in hand, you have already become quite skilled in the art." "Mr. Chen, my younger brother actually didn't die back then. But why did Grandpa skin him alive? He still wants to cruelly drive him to death." Mr. Chen said, "Enazi, your grandfather had no choice either. Ghost Path sect always ends in tragedy. Even though Lai Laosin withdrew from the Xuanmain back then, only one lineage can be passed down within 3 generations. And within 3 generations, all have had turbulent fates. So, between my younger brother and me, only one can survive. Xiangxi was never meant to be in this world. You are able to live until today. It was Lai Laosin who blocked the heavenly secrets. I have shielded you from all disasters. And the 50 masters of Jiang's day. It is hoped to take advantage of the strong sunlight, wash away the negative energy of the evil spirits, transformed into a shadow, giving birth to remnants of the deceased. And you became a disciple of the ghost path. It was also your grandfather's arrangement. But until today, I couldn't see it either. How will you resolve this deadlock? Or one could say, Lai Laosin's layout, as Waikun intervenes, it has already deviated from its original course. Before the 15th day of the 7th lunar month, there are about 20 days left. At that time, it's my 18th birthday. Then, since it is my deadlock, I asked Mr. Chen, "Will I die?" "Theoretically, it should. So what should we do next?" "First, find your mother's corpse. As for that ominous presence," Mr. Chen paused for a moment, "use the magnetic arrow to extinguish it." Mr. Chen analyzed the red-dressed ghost behind. Under the old locust tree, repeatedly said. Should be said. It was under the old locust tree at the end of the village. Mr. Chen speculated. There should be the remains of a mother here. But last time it wasn't from below. "Did you dig out the corpse of Yinsha?" "You mean to say, the body of the daughter, also down there," Mr. Chen said. "I should have thought of this long ago. The old locust tree invites the shadows. Both mother and son died with grievances. Mother and son interred together. Mutual dependence becomes a curse. This is the best way to preserve a corpse. For the convenience of the police, we must take action immediately. Mr. Chen and I brought tools, headed towards the end of the village. Along the way, he told me, my mother died unexpectedly. It shouldn't be time for a final farewell yet. So the ghostly messenger didn't come to collect the soul. Only the soul can remain in the world of the living. Because of resentment in the heart, this transformed into vengeful spirits and ghosts. Arrived under the old locust tree, Mr. Chen asked me to follow up on last time, digging out the place of the evil spirit. Keep digging down. Indeed. following the location where it was originally buried in the darkness. After digging another half a meter down, there's something. It was a shriveled and blackened corpse. A dry corpse with no moisture. It looks particularly creepy. That's right. This must be your mother. Only you can personally bury her remains. You should know. When we first unearthed that sinister corpse, it feels like it was just buried. Equally vibrant, Mr. Chen said. It was that evil spirit that drained the mother lion's resentment. Sacrifice the mother to nurture the yin sha. The methods of this person. Not ordinary. It was at this moment. A familiar voice came through. Mother, oh mother, do you not want me any more? A desolate and tender voice, filled with complaints. I looked in the direction of the sound. The ominous presence is approaching us. I immediately recited the incantation. Heaven and earth, the mystical origin. Root of all Kai. Don't read any more. Mr. Chen stopped me. I questioned. Lai, the porcelain sword is powerful. Controlling it requires a lot of mental energy. When I just looked at the candle, it has already consumed most of your mental energy. Given your current situation, there is simply no way. Transforming into a porcelain sword. Use the internal celestial master's talisman formation to trap it. I don't believe in the supernatural. Recite the incantation again. Heaven and earth, the profound origin. Root of all Kai. 4 Spirit Sky Lantern. Liu Jiu Liu Ding. Help me eliminate the essence. Yao Mo Wan Zeng. Be proactive like a command. Spell it out. The porcelain sword in hand. No response at all. On the contrary, I felt as if all my strength had been drained away. Suddenly felt much weaker. This is the spiritual power within the soul. Invisible things, but it truly exists. At the same time, I understand now. Why did the porcelain sword appear last time? It soon returned to its original form, when I shattered the pointing finger with a single sword strike. There is a faint feeling of being hollowed out. That should be almost the end of mental energy consumption. Eagle Kill looked at the talisman in my hand, stopped advancing towards us. His gaze, not only willing to bet but also to stare intently. Me and Mr. Chen, and my mother's corpse. Mr. Chen said, "He has no humanity at all. It is a corpse filled with intense resentment. Once your mental strength has recovered, just get rid of him." I remembered last night, the scene where the evil demon bites the red-cloaked ghost. But there was no hesitation at all. For him, everyone has let him down. Everyone should die. At this moment, I feel no pity for him, even if he was once my brother. But at this moment, he was just a corpse. Mr. Chen and I continue our mission. Take my mother's body. Lift it out from among them. The eagle demon continuously screeched from a distance. A chilling cry filled with resentment. Very annoying. We carried mother's body back home. Xiangxi kept following behind. A piercing scream. Let it be in the morning hall. My 2 cousins are keeping vigil for my grandmother. Frightened quite a bit. Be careful. He is about to enter the memorial hall. Mr. Chen saw through Xiangxi's intentions. I raised the talisman in my hand, rushing towards him. Eagle Shah approached the location of the spirit hall. Just then, the door to the morning hall was pushed open. When I saw him running towards me, he kept retreating. This scene was just seen by 2 uncles. All that showed on their faces was terror, still and shock. They were shocked that I didn't expect that. I was able to scare off that eagle demon. Eagle Killer is like a vintage abode, but I can't catch him. I had no choice but to wait at the door. I dare not be the slightest bit careless. Until the rooster crows at dawn. Eagle Shah finally left. After dawn, When the two paternal uncles were about to leave, "I'm very sorry. Tell me they won't come to keep vigil tonight." I didn't complain about them. Such an event occurred. They are unwilling. It's also normal. Eagle Shaw will definitely not let this go. He definitely won't give me a chance to take advantage of him. To know, when I walk in the shadows, the whole person is in a state of deep slumber. Mr. Chen is no longer the same as before. At that time, the eagle killer will definitely take advantage of the opportunity, come to take my life. But I have no way to deal with him at all, whether it's to resign from the sword or not. Tian Chi Fu Lu, I can only passively defend against attacks, did not have the ability to catch up with him. I asked Mr. Chen, "Is there a solution?" Mr. Chen said, "We can try to set a trap. Come eliminate him." Mr. Chen decided, "First, bury my mother." After all, Ying Sha is highly dependent on mother's corpse. Is unwilling to give up. Of course, cremation is necessary, with the help of two uncles. We chose a destination for mother on the back mountain. Cremation on site, though my mother has turned into a vengeful spirit. But the corpse did not dissolve. The resentment was also drained by the eagle killer. So the cremation went smoothly. There were no accidents. A tombstone was erected after the burial, after finishing my mother's affairs. It is already afternoon. I dragged my weary body home. Mr. Chen told me to rest well before dark. Rejuvenated my spirit. Good evening, dealing with the eagle Shah. I lay down on the sofa. And so I fell asleep in a daze. In a daze, I saw Grandma wandering at the door, afraid to enter the house. I asked her, "Grandma, why don't you go inside?" Grandma didn't answer me, but glanced at the morning hall beside him. I just remembered. Grandma has already passed away. The grandmother in front of me, her vengeful spirit has returned. "Grandma, come with me. I understand. What should I do for myself now? The souls battle in the mortal realm. In the end, it's not good. The soul power will be consumed day by day. Time has passed. As the soul continues to fade, in the end, the soul will be scattered. Nothing will be left. I must take Grandma to the place she needs to go." As I walked out of the house, approaching her, Grandma took a step back. Her gaze at me was very complicated. A sense of reluctance. But more than anything, there is awe. Why is Grandma afraid of me? I don't understand. But I didn't stop. As I walked, my steps quickened towards Grandma. Grandma's retreating speed was also increasing, until I caught him in my grasp. She then resigned herself to fate. I dare not move her. I don't understand. Why is Grandma like this? But I will not stop. I instinctively led my grandmother out of the village, until they arrived at the land temple at the village entrance. I stopped in my tracks. Suddenly, a cloud of black smoke rose from the Tudi Miao. Black smoke quickly formed a mist around the earth god temple. Suddenly, the sound of dragging chains echoed through the mist. As that sound came through, I felt my grandmother's body trembling in my grasp. Then two people emerged from the mist. They were dragging a pitch-black chain that pierced the soul. The two people looked equally terrifying. The face was ashen, pale as paper. Yet her lips and the circles around her eyes were as dark as ink. Zuyinren. But in Lijia village, on the 5th day of the 5th month of the lunar calendar, Chen Shisheng's spirit arrives before the soul of Chen Meiying. They are the messengers of hell. Two ghost officers, my lords. The lost soul Chen Meiying is my grandmother. I hope you will take good care of me. After the two ghost messengers confirmed my grandmother's identity, they don't pay any attention to me at all. walked towards Grandma quietly. The dark iron chain in hand was about to strike him with a cannon blast. Grandma was so scared that she quickly hid behind me, shaking even more violently. I can feel it. It comes from a fear deep within the soul. The lost soul fears the ghostly officer. As expected, I stood in front of two ghostly enforcers, two esteemed ghost officials. Guide our disciple Lai Peng'en, I ask you to take care of my grandmother Chen Meiying, so that she can smoothly reach the underworld. Cycle of rebirth. I should remember this kindness in my heart. Two ghost messengers saw me blocking their way. First, a frown appeared as I held it out after the bright dawn. I never expected my identity as a disciple of the ghost path. We can intimidate them. You are truly a disciple of the ghost path. Absolutely genuine. Otherwise, how could I walk in the shadows? My master, a member of the Xuan men, is known as Luo Zuzi. You are actually his disciple. The two ghost messengers were so shocked that they took 2 steps back. Then the two of them turned around. After a discussion, they turned back. Mr. Lai, since the lost soul is your grandmother, we will definitely ensure his safe arrival in Fengdu City. If one day we crossed paths with Mr. Lai, I hope Mr. Lai will leave a way out. We are just little ghosts from the underworld, upholding justice and integrity. It's not easy either. I don't know what they mean by narrow road meets, but I still assured them that is nature. As long as you help my grandmother reach her destination safely, I will surely remember your kindness. All right. Mr. Lai took his leave. Two ghost messengers came forward to escort my grandmother. Head towards the land temple. I can feel it. Grandma is not as scared as before. It should be two ghost messengers gathering the malevolent energy. I feel much more at ease. And yes, wake up. I was woken up by Mr. Chen. The sky outside has long since turned dark. What time is it now? Mr. Chen said, it's past 8 o'clock. It's almost the hour of the boar. You should still look at him from the outside. Mr. Chen pointed to the door. Outside the door, Xiangxi had already appeared in the courtyard early on. Did he come this early? I can feel it. Xiangxi's resentment within him was even stronger than before. This may be because of me, the reason for the living burial of my mother, but I am not afraid of him. I told Mr. Chen about Grandma. Mr. Chen breathed a sigh of relief. Your grandmother has been taken away, and that's good. Next, you will be able to confront that Xiangxi with all your strength. Then send your mother away. And the so-called trap to deal with Xiangxi. Actually, it's quite simple, because Xiangxi probably doesn't know that I have the manuscript. Mr. Chen estimates his IQ. It is probably equivalent to just a child. As long as Xiangxi confirmed that the talisman was not in my hands that day, it will definitely not let go of any opportunity to harm me. I am preparing to play the pig to eat the tiger. Mr. Chen and I are patiently enduring Xiangxi. After Xiangxi had been watching from outside for a while, I couldn't hold it any longer. Anxious, Xiangxi shifted targets, preparing to head to Grandma's Memorial Hall. At this moment, I handed the talisman to Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen walked to his grandmother's funeral with the talisman. Xiangxi had no choice but to give up on his plan to enter. Xiangxi then turned his gaze towards me. I walked towards Xiangxi. There was excitement in her eyes, but his gaze still glanced at Grandma's Memorial Hall. Seeing Mr. Chen holding the talisman without any intention of coming out, she revealed a smile that stretched from ear to ear. As I approached, Xiangxi has retreated to the corner of the courtyard, and this place is exactly the blind spot that Mr. Chen cannot see. It is obvious. Yin Sha wants to take me out here. I can see it. Her intelligence has increased compared to before. I hope for what we have between us. Let us solve it ourselves. Don't involve others. Although she may not understand my words, but she should understand what I mean, because she appeared incredibly excited, as if killing me means nothing to her. It is something I long for. Very important matter. Tian Dai Xuan Zong. Root of Wolkai. 4 spirit lanterns. Liu Ji Liuding. Help me eliminate the essence. Demon King form. Be as proactive as a law. I recited the incantation, just as Yin Sha was starting to react. When things are not right, a scarlet red branding iron suddenly appeared in my hand. She was about to charge over, frightened to the point of collapsing on the ground. Lost the will to resist. I never expected the intimidation of Sijian against her. It's unexpectedly so big. Seized the rare opportunity. I didn't hesitate. No mercy. The porcelain sword in hand. Asterisk sound of a clap, asterisk. A clap echoed. Yin Sha let out a piercing scream. Black smoke started to rise from his body. That is resentment. Mr. Chen heard the sound and also rushed out of the house. The talisman scroll in hand was raised. Yin Sha retreated into the wind. The porcelain sword in my hand. The second time, lift the skin. A rare opportunity. I must completely dispel her resentment. But just as I raised my porcelain sword, a strange sound of copper bells caught my attention. I looked at Mr. Chen. His face also showed a look of shock. Felt terrified by the sudden sound of the bronze bell. Don't listen to the whistle. Quickly get rid of Yin Sha. Mr. Chen then yelled at me. The porcelain sword in my hand fell again. But just at that moment, the sound of the bell made me feel uneasy. The struggling figure of Yin Sha swayed before me. There is a double image. I tried to shake my head vigorously. I want to stay awake. But suddenly, the world spun around, almost made me fall, and the porcelain sword in hand. At this moment, it also transformed into a circle, until that bell sound stops. Yin Sha has already run out of the courtyard. I keep gasping for breath and looked at Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen's situation is similar to mine. The sound of the bell targets the soul. Let's all suffer a bit. I had asked him, why did Xiangxi Jiang come back so quickly? Mr. Chen said, it is indeed Wai Kun's soul-controlling bell, but the sound of the copper bell was chaotic. I can be sure it wasn't Wai Kun shaking. Of course. The main thing is that Wai Kun was hurt by me back then. I estimate it will take at least 7 days to recover. Could it be the people from the village? The sound of shaking the bronze bell kills. Mr. Chen nodded. Lai Gang's body should also be the one he changed to point the finger at others. It is even very likely that Lai Gang's body is still in the village. I didn't expect there were Wai Kun's spies in the village. But who could this person be if Lai Gang's body is still in the village? Then where will his body be hidden? But now the biggest problem is, I'm afraid to go off key easily now, because if I go off key, if that bronze bell rings again, I will face dire consequences. More importantly, I have words.